about this rally, and it's called looking at the sign, "Stop Violence Against Women Everywhere." And definitely, I think that's something I personally, in the International Socialist Organization, wants to come out and support. I mean, you hear all the time. We live in a system that blames the victim. Where you had, for example, a young girl was recently raped in Steubenville, Ohio. I don't know if you heard about that. And, it was just such a cover-up around it. Like, everywhere you look, like, women are being attacked and they're being told, don't go out looking like this, dress appropriately. And that's why we're out here, standing up for women.
Have you gone to any other supportive protests of women before, or is this your first?
No, actually, the banner, if you could see it behind me, is from the Slut Walk protests. I don't know if you're...
Oh, yeah, last year.
Yeah.
No, I wasn't there, but I definitely heard about it.
Okay, yeah. So, no, I mean, we've come out and, supported any women's march. We've been involved with Slut Walk and other things as well.
Thank you.
Okay, you're on. I'm sorry, not much of an interview.
No, that was great. I was only giving you a minute.
Oh, okay.
I'm Devin, by the way.
Oh, John.
So.
Nice to meet you.
Do you have a card or anything?
No, we were having
so I can show you guys?
a meeting. Yeah, sure.
Cool.
We're having a meeting here on the 14th.
Here?
In the city. It's at NYU Global Center for Academic and Spiritual Life.
That's my building. Okay.
Oh, you know where that is?
Yeah, it's
right
okay.
There. All right, cool. Yeah, so on the 14th, Thursday, 7 p.m. It's going to be the entire ISO district, so it's a district meeting, the entire ISO in New York City. So
awesome.
Should be pretty big, should be good.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, you're welcome. Take care. How you doing?
Good. Just a little bit perplexed. Sexuality and socialism.
This is a really great book by Sherry Wolf, a veteran of the LGBT movement. Talks about the roots of LGBT oppression, and so really opened up my eyes. But
I'm a little bit confused because you put sexuality and socialism in the same sentence.
Oh yeah? Why is that?
I mean, aren't these two things kind of contradictory?
No, absolutely not.
How so?
I think that as socialists, we fight for the rights of all people and for the freedom, including sexual freedom of all people.
But, I mean...
Why do you think it's contradictory? I'm surprised that you think it's contradictory.
I think it's contradictory is because in all the socialist countries the so-called socialist countries that have ever existed, homosexuality was against the law.
Yeah, I think that's an important preface you had, the so-called socialist countries. I mean, but after the Russian Revolution, actually, homosexuality was decriminalized. It wasn't until, Stalinism is not socialism. It's a perversion of socialism. So you're right, in so-called socialist countries, like, in Castro's Cuba, where he was quarantined.
Is it socialist?
No, I would say not. No.
So has there ever been a socialist country?
I would say no. No, I think that you saw a potential after the Russian Revolution. But of course that was crushed and the Stalinists took over. And real socialism would mean equality and liberation for all people, whether it's women, LGBT people, Muslims, all persecuted people.
But you think that Lenin was on the right path?
Yes, absolutely.
You really think so?
Yeah. Do you?
Not really, because the words Red Scare, for example, are the ones that belong to Lenin. Summarily executions is something that Lenin was doing. Dzerzhinsky was the head of Cheka, and he was the one who was murdering people right and left, executing the czars without due process. I mean, what's good about Lenin?
What's good about Lenin is what you're looking at. You're looking at a point in the revolution where there was a counter-revolution led by 14 capitalist countries, incling this country,
but
the United States.
We're talking about local people.
You recorded me too, right?
You don't mind that, right?
I don't know. I'm not gonna. No, I guess I don't care.
All right.
Yeah. No, I mean, listen. You're trying to say that the Russian Revolution was a failure, and that Lenin and the Bolsheviks were inherently somehow evil. What you're ignoring is the fact that you have a revolution immediately after they have to defend their revolution. So the question of should they or shouldn't they kill the Tsar, I mean, there is a counter-revolution that's emerging, and they're making choices.
Look, but I'm talking about the local innocent, and the key word is innocent. Totally innocent people were murdered without any due process.
You're saying two different things. You're saying due process and innocence.
Well, because when you talk about the revolution, and it seems like in your mind, revolution necessarily entails hundreds, thousands, maybe millions of people dead. Innocent people dead.
If you're going to ask me if the Russian Revolution was worth defending, then the answer is yes.
Yes.
Absolutely, yes.
So then an interesting question arises. How come that the system was created where someone like Stalin or his ilk could have grabbed power or come to power? Do you think that someone like Stalin could have risen to power in the United States?
Are you asking if Stalin could take power in the United States, or are you asking me
with...
Are you trying to say that somehow the Bolsheviks led to Stalinism?
No.
I think that's what you're asking,
The gist of my question is the founding fathers in this country created a system that unlikely will allow someone with the qualities of Stalin to ever emerge as the leaders of this country, as the president of this country, because of the system of checks and balances. They were geniuses. Now, how come is that you're defending the system which was created and established by Lenin, and then you blame it on just one person, Stalin? Wasn't there the flaw initially with the ideals of Lenin, with the ideas of Lenin, ideas of so-called socialism in the first place?
So you're asking two different things. So I'll answer two different questions. Okay.
But you got my question, right?
You asked me a question. I'm going to answer the question, but then I want to get back to also promoting my organization.
Sure, of course.
So first of all, you said I think you're implying that the U.S. system's better because of Stalin wouldn't arise. Well, why don't you tell that to the millions of black bodies that are dumped into the sea during... No, you let me finish, right? You can't ask a question then interrupt me. Okay, so maybe we didn't have a Stalin or whatever here in the United States, but you're implying like somehow that the U.S. system was superior. So again, I mean, what's the difference between Stalin executing people and putting millions of black bodies in chains and making them involuntary slaves, okay? The second question is, you're asking about Stalinism, and I'm saying the question of how Stalin rose from Lenin is a very complicated question. You have a civil war that the Bolsheviks must fight against, right? Right, you know this, right?
Continue.
Okay. So there's a counter-revolution that they have to fight against. You have a decimated working class, right? The cities are empty, especially the cadre of the revolution who are out fighting, defending the revolution. You have a replacement of the working class by the party as a result of the working class's decimation, and Stalin's allowed to take power, right? So yes, it's not inevitable that Stalin's going to rise from socialism, but under the conditions in Russia after the revolution, a big part of it, because of the counter-revolution that was launched, yes, Stalinism arose. So if you're asking me before, you're saying something about secret police and red terror, I mean, look at the terror from the other side that the Bolsheviks had to fight against. So again, back to that original question, was the Russian Revolution worth defending? Absolutely. And that's my answer to that question.
Okay, well, see, the reason I'm asking all these questions and the reason I'm kind of have somewhat different perspective is because I did come from that part of the world.
Okay.
I was born and raised in the USSR. I lived for 29 years behind the Iron Curtain. So I know firsthand what's so-called, and the reason I use the caveat so-called socialism, and I mean, you agree with me, it has never existed. However,
I agree with that.
But do you think
you think the Russian Revolution led to dictatorship? That's what you're saying.
I know it. I don't think I know that. I mean, think about it this way. At the very inception, remember, let me ask you a question. Remember when revolution started, how it started, who started it? Remember Kronstadt? Remember the sailors of Kronstadt? They were the ones, remember the Aurora? The salvo from Aurora, that was the signal to start the revolution, and so on and so on. And the same very sailors, Kronstadt sailors, they were murdered by Trotsky several years down the road. They were murdered because
were they a threat to the revolution?
They thought that the revolution was about the Soviets. I mean, Soviet is sort of, advising body. They thought that they will have input in it. And then Lenin immediately became a dictator. Actually, he was a dictator from day one, because there were two Russian revolutions, as you remember, right?
this is about to begin. But I will say this: you should get this on tape as well.
Okay.
If Stalin led to, I mean, if Bolshevism led to Stalinism, and I want you to think about this: why is it that Stalin imprisoned and murdered all the Bolsheviks, including Trotsky?
But because
He had to destroy the actual words of the Bolsheviks.
well, because they're all the same.
Yeah, no, yeah. I'm gonna do that word.
All right.